Hey, what's up, you guys? Jeff Cohn here with another episode of the Team Building Podcast, where we interview top team leaders, broker owners, and thought leaders from across the country. Today, we have a very special guest who's not only a thought leader and consultant, but also the broker of the #1 Realty Executive Office in the world. They just did over $3 billion in sales volume last year in Phoenix, Arizona. They have over 800 agents. Welcome to the show today, Mr. Eden Sunshine. And that is his legal name. We're going to ask him to pull out his driver's license today. Eden, what's happening, brother?
Thank you so much. You know, when the day that I met my wife and I told her my name was Eden Sunshine, it was over 25, 26 years ago. She said, yeah, let me see your ID. And you know what? I conveniently covered my date of birth because I had a few years on her at the time. So she didn't realize.
At the time, I think you still have those years on her, Eden.
I still do. She hasn't. Well, you know what? I just decided that I'm going to be her age now. If anybody asks me, hey, I'm 49 and I'm going to stick with it.
That's it. I love it. Well, it's really fun. A lot of our audience members don't know, but as a guest jumps on the Zoom link when we start to do this recording, a lot of times we haven't met before. And in this instance, Eden and I have not had an opportunity to meet in person. We've seen each other's content, but never actually have had a chance to talk. So typically I'll spend the first 15 minutes ideating and then the next 20 to 25 minutes recording the podcast. And it was so funny. Eden and I were so natural in our conversation at the beginning and we were getting into content. And I was like, dude, we need to just start the recording. So here we go. We just started.
Right. Let's just dive right in, and I was afraid as soon as you said we're running live, I was going to freeze up, but I know you were recording or Dana was recording before we got started. So maybe if it really sucks, just pull back the stuff.
Yeah, there you go. Just use And honestly, dude, I had this idea where imagine if you have a college football team or a pro team that you follow, how cool it would be if you spent an extra $25 to listen to the coach at halftime and camera in the locker room and you get it raw. I think there's so often times where people are like, you know what? I don't want the scripted podcast. Give it to me raw. And that was something when we launched the Team Building Podcast in 2015, we've recorded now almost 200 episodes. I wanted the conversations to be authentic. And so I don't send my guests pre questions or, we don't plan out how the conversation is going to be. It's completely off the cuff. Nothing we're about to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, has been planned. This is all just fun.
I love it. And you said something so relevant. We do a lot of trainings for our executives, for our agents. And we had a training just recently on, how to use social media, effectively for generating leads. And the two gals that facilitated that were talking about, being authentic in social media. And so often we get up there and we're like, we got to put our best foot forward. And both of them have been so successful in their careers, just being so real and raw. And one of the things she challenged the group they challenged the group to do was post something immediately after that was just authentic and raw. And this is what I said. I did it too. And I got on there and I said, for 20 years, I've been a consultant and I've had to present myself as having all the answers. And the reality is this, I don't have all the answers. I've never had all the answers. I've had good ideas and good thoughts and good concepts to base on. But the only answer I have is that we're constantly in a state of learning. And it was like a big weight off my shoulder because people walk in and say, okay, tell us the answer. And we're like, I don't know. The things I know today, and I'm okay admitting it, because we're all in this journey to learn.
People gravitate to authenticity. And that doesn't mean you have to get out there and confess the world and air your dirty laundry. It just means be a real person. I find, and I track every day on all the posts and going live on Facebook, the engagement that I get with my audience. And of course I want engagement to be high, but I also want it to be high value. And I find the people that follow me the most love content that shows me in my natural state. So I was in my hot tub with my son, Levi, who's 11, 2 weeks ago. It was -25 in Omaha. You would have died coming from Phoenix. Yeah. And his hair, he has red hair and he looks like a chia pet. And it was getting icicles all over it. And I said, dude, let's go a couple more minutes. And I kept putting water on it. I was like, let's get a big icy head and then I'll go live on Facebook. And it's gotten over 1,000 views. Wow. So people don't want to hear us talk about our business and the last client we serviced and all the success we're having. They just want to see our head get icy. They want to see us slip and fall. They just want the real us. You know what I mean?
Right. Because then you feel like, I always laughed about the shows, the Jerry Springers and the Sally Jesse Raphaels and all those kind of shows. And even
you're going back, guys.
What's that?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you were born after 2000, he's referencing talk shows that existed in the late 1990s.
Sorry. See, I'm aging myself, aren't I? So maybe
you're good. I know it, so you're not that bad.
Okay. The younger, I don't even know what younger audiences are, but even some of the reality shows out there, they're looking for people that the consumer can look at and go, you know what, they're pretty messed up. I guess my life is okay.
100%.
Right. And so, we've seen it like in the church world. We've seen an evolution of the pastor in the 3-piece suit, and they had their falls and stuff. And now you just see the guys getting up there and they go, you know what? I got problems too.
Every movie, every TV show, a lot of average Joe public and Jill public don't understand, but every character represents typically what the viewer watching embodies in some way. A lot of times there will be a character, there will be like 4 or 5, and you'll choose, I identify with this person the most. And then there's always the character that's just a complete train wreck. And I think that character exists to make us feel better about ourselves.
Right. So I'm exploring the idea of, as the CEO of Realty Executives, really presenting myself as a train wreck so I can get more buy-in from my team. So, but, the fact of the matter is, team communication and team building is really, really important. And, I find myself from time to time standing before our staff. We've got about 35, 40 people that are working to support our executives here, and presenting the rosy, wonderful picture of all of our success. But the reality is this: they know that we are broken too. They know that there's opportunities to make things better and fix. And I was just preparing my agenda for next week, and I was going to ask them the question, if life is supposed to be easy, without struggles, conflict, pain, adversity, if anybody believes that's what life is all about, versus it being riddled with challenges and opportunities and disappointments, but also we have moments of joy and happiness where we, hopefully come together as people to resolve conflict and issues and work together and really present the truth of what we're experiencing here, or what you experience in any business. And I have to admit, as a business consultant for 20 years, I took the position, and even our USP for our business, which is called Level 7 Development, or Level 7 System, was making your business and life work for you. And I have to admit that we kind of painted this rosy picture that the goal of the process is to build this perfect, infallible business. And now I'm willing to confess that I forgot to add something that you often will hear Navy SEALs say, and that is, you have to embrace the suck, and because that's part of the journey. And at the end of the day, what I've resolved is that I do aspire to build something meaningful that brings life to people, but I understand that life can come in the midst of adversity. And if we can bring people together in those times, that's what it's all about. And at the end of the day, it's showing up in our best possible way. So 100%. Yeah, but it's hard. It's hard.
Growth is not realized by going through something easy. It reminds me, back in 2016, Omaha puts on this charity, Omaha's version of Dancing with the Stars, which is a show that shouldn't age me. I think it's still airing today, but this is Omaha's version, right? And I decided to dance. I'll skip a lot of the details, but I trained 12 to 16 hours to finally get there. Finally did the dance. It was 1 minute, 30 seconds. I ended up winning the entire competition, but it wasn't about winning the competition. I actually didn't want to perform. It was horrible. I weighed 320 pounds at the time, was in front of 5,000 people. I've never danced before. And it put me through this really, really horrible experience, because it put me in an area where I wasn't comfortable, where I wasn't going to be the winner, where I didn't feel the best, about myself and my public image. And I was embarrassed. I didn't want to do it, but I chose to do it because I have 3 children. I know you mentioned a child of yours earlier. At the time, this is 5 years back, so they were probably 10, 8, and 6. And every day I ask them to put themselves in uncomfortable situations. And what I find in life is most people take a path of least resistance. They do all these new things and all these new challenges, and then they graduate high school and they say, I want to do whatever's the easiest. I want the easy job. I want the easy rent. I want the easy lawn care. I want the easy everything. And so I thought I would be a hypocrite to not take the opportunity to stretch myself. So I'm grateful I did. I'll never do it again. But I have the experience now. I get to put it in my pocket and say, okay, that sucked. And it's the whole embrace the suck. But nobody that achieves at a high level gets there without embracing some type of suck.
Yeah. And I think the big, you hit the nail on the head and you talk about this generation, maybe even being brought up with this idea that everything is supposed to go smoothly without effort. And social media has had a big impact on that, right? Everybody presents their best side, which is why I think being authentic, in how we present ourselves as business people and as humans, gives, really builds credibility and the freedom for people to be themselves as well. And they connect, One of the gals that did this social media presentation, she's got some tattoos on her arms and so on and so forth. And she was at a conference and she got inspired by a gal that was kind of mentoring her. And she was at this conference and I guess she had a booth or set up. It was for something to do with residential real estate. And this gal says to her, "Why are you wearing this sweater? It's warm in here." And she goes, "Well, I don't want people to see my tattoos. I don't want them to see all that." And she says, "Girl, take that thing off and let people see you for who you are." And as soon as she did that, her business blossomed. Like she got, she gets on social media and she cries about the challenges she has with her kids. And she experiences the joy that she has with her clients when they close, or the difficulty she has, navigating through the transactions. And people go, "She's real." And I think it's really, really hard because, I come from a generation that, we're supposed to put our best foot forward and everything's supposed to, we've got to be strong and capable and not have any weakness. And, I remember reading about Michael Dell when Dell Computer was struggling with the business and he reached out. They were about on their edge of bankruptcy. And he went out to his vendors and to his staff and said, "We're in trouble. We need help. And, can you help us out?" And it was amazing how people embraced that authenticity instead of pretending that everything was wonderful.
Well, and how about right now where, you have a restaurant industry that's just been completely crushed by COVID. And I am seeing people respond by saying, "Hey, buy local, go support delivery, support these certain areas in different communities." And I think it's key to be willing to ask and not be so proud that you can't. And I think it's hard right now for agents. Everybody on the media talks about the market being so great. It is a great market if you've been in the business a long time and have a strong sphere of influence, and you can get someone to list their house and it sells in a day and multiple offers. But imagine the brand new agent. Nobody talks about this. How is the brand new agent surviving? Good luck converting an internet lead at the same rate we were converting 10 years ago. When I got in the business, 2007, 2008, 2009, there were 10 times as many houses on the market. It was a seven months worth of inventory. Houses didn't sell. You only wanted listings to get sign calls. Buyers was where the money was at. And now it's been a complete shift. It's the opposite. And I think it's a struggle that a lot of people don't want to talk about because they're embarrassed when the market's so great. They think they should be doing well. Really, you're only going to be doing well in the area that you're good at. So the agents that are good at engaging their sphere of influence and have been in the business a long time, they're going to be awesome right now. But I think a lot of agents are struggling, and to your point, non-admittedly struggling in the business.
Yeah, it's really tough. I was talking to one of our top executives earlier today, and he says it's a bloodbath out there. Phoenix has got, 4,000 homes in the entire county, available, which is
that's insane. You guys, ladies and gentlemen, you have 40,000 agents in the Phoenix area, don't you?
Something like that, 40,000 or so.
So think about that. There's 4,000 listings and 40,000 agents.
Yeah, and it's and the appreciation of the homes is just no inventory at all. And we've been advocating here for quite some time. You've got to retool your business and to get listings and create a market for yourself. And people are starting to make that shift. But to your point, what are the new agents doing? We've seen a mass exodus already in the last 12 months of people getting out of the business, but we have also a record number of new people getting into the business.
Right. Because the market's so great. No one's telling them this is the worst time ever for a new agent, unless your brokerage has a focus on new agents. I wanted to ideate around this really quick, Eden, be it that you are a business consultant. I know you don't just primarily work with real estate teams. While you do work teams, you work with entrepreneurs. And it's been my belief as a leader of agents over the last 10 years, after launching our real estate team, Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group, it grew to be the number one team in the world at Berkshire. So we went from 70 to over 700 unit sales a year in just 6 years. And then we launched a real estate franchise inside of Keller Williams in 2020, KW Elite. And it's been my passion to be able to help someone based on what their goals are. And I find that there's three groups of people. And you asked me before we started recording a great question that I'd love everyone else to hear. And the question Eden asked me was, do you ever recommend to someone wanting to build a team or someone that's already started building a team to back up and not have a team because of their skill set? And it's an awesome question. I'll answer in a little bit. But what I wanted to focus on was to be a solution for everyone. And what I find is the traditional brokerage is a solution for the dependent and interdependent agent. There's not really an independent option. And what I mean by that is an agent comes in to join the brokerage. The brokerage isn't really set up to help the brand new agent. And so the agent joins a team, right? So they need the dependency. They need someone to help them. They need a mentor. And then once they've graduated out of that, they need some interdependence where the brokerage allows them to run their business how they want to run it. And a lot of brokerages that I've seen don't have a recipe to help agents learn how to run a team. They just really kind of want individual agents. That's what I'm seeing as far as most traditional brokerages across the country. But where I think we've taken it even a step further, and I'd love to hear how Realty Executives has addressed this, is we want agents to have complete autonomy. So when they get to a point where they know how to read a P&L and they have all the leveraged positions, and it really just becomes a function of lead gen, accountability, processes, coaching, et cetera, and they just need more agents to plug in, how much autonomy will that brokerage give them? How much control will that franchise continue to retain? How much commission percentage will they have to continue to dole out, even though there's not value following? And so that's been a really big push on our end. And we're calling it the indie model or the independent model, where any brokerage anywhere in the country can attach to our hub providing lead gen, accountability, coaching, systems, digital marketing, virtual reality, all sorts of stuff. And then there's just a minimum fee that they have to pay us to be part of that experience. In Omaha right now, it's $50,000 a year. So an agent can take advantage of everything, and the most they'll ever pay us is $50,000 a year. And that's pretty compelling. When I came from Berkshire, I gave them over $180,000 from the 6% franchise fee that they charged me. And I was looking for an independent option, and I didn't want to have to come over to start a Keller Williams franchise to have it, but they simply didn't offer it. And I didn't see it across most traditional brokerages. So would be curious what your thought process is on that.
Well, I don't know. There's a lot there.
There's a lot there.
So just a little background about Realty Executives, because you talk about independence and you talk about coaching people up and talk about teams. So what a lot of people don't know about Realty Executives, we were actually the first 100% concept model, started in 1965 by Dale Rector. We have a very, very rich heritage and history in innovation. You know, he was the guy that was working with one of the 50% split companies, and they got irritated with him because he closed an open house because somebody said, came in and said, I don't like this floor plan. He says, I got something else for you. And he took him over there and they closed the deal, and they yelled at him on Monday when he turned in the contract, and they said, you never close an open house. He said, this is ridiculous. So he started the first model of 100% and went out to some of the top agents in the Phoenix area and said, do you want to be a part of this? And literally the way the brokerage worked is they said, we will divide up the expenses of the brokerage on a monthly basis based on the number of people that we have here as agents, and you keep 100% of your commission. Now that's evolved over the years because, with 800, at one point,
Sure.
I think we had 1,600 agents. It was really, really hard to divide it up, and it didn't seem equitable. Phoenix is wildly competitive now. It's probably one of the most competitive markets in the country as far as fee structure is concerned. But we do take, and so our heritage is built on attracting and developing the best in the business. Our USP is not, and we call our USP is where the experts are, but we really kind of been playing off of the brokerage built to support the best in the business. Mm-hmm. When somebody would come to Realty Executives in the early days, they couldn't even join the brokerage if they didn't have at least 2 years of experience. Wow. 6 to 12 transactions. So that has evolved too. And we have a mentoring program now, and you kind of hit on that a little bit, that you can't join the brokerage unless you go through the mentoring program.
Love it. Just
flat out. We don't care. If they're brand new, right out of real estate school, newly licensed, you're going through a mentoring program. And we just got some interesting statistics that first year agents in the market were outperforming every other brokerage by 25%. And the guy that gave us the statistics says, how do you explain this? And I said, it's because everybody has a mentor for a period of 6 transactions where they literally handhold them. They show them how to and everything is very, very intensively focused on lead generation and how to get a prospect in front of you. And because everybody wants to talk about the contract and stuff, it's like, it doesn't matter.
In real estate school, I never heard one time anyone talk or teach. And I took my classes in college. No one ever taught about lead generation. No one ever talked about a P&L. No one ever talked about lead conversion. All they talked about is the laws surrounding real estate. They didn't teach you how to do it. So
they walk in the door and you go, so now that you've got your license, what do you do? And they shrug their shoulders and they go, we don't know what we're going to show you. And so once they've gone through that, though, our model, because of our history, has attracted people that want to work very independently. So, other than ensuring that there's compliance and following, the commissioner's rules and things like that, we give our executives a lot of latitude to run the business that we want to run. They want to run it. And our model is, we kind of look at people on a continuum from they just got out of school here to they've got 45 years in the business. And there's a whole lot of stuff that can happen in between there.
Sure.
And so our desire is not to say, we're going to walk you through this, but we're going to equip you in the beginning, and then we'll meet you where you are. So I have executives come in 25 years in the industry and they say, we're ready to start building a team. It's like, okay. And, because of my background in helping people build teams for entrepreneurs and for realtors, I kind of have become the go-to guy as far as coaching around that. But I asked them the question is this really the right thing for you? Let's talk about what your investment mentally and logistically is going to be. You can't say, I've started a team and expect to bring people in and ignore them and not give them the investment in time like what we do with our mentoring program and expect to get any good results. So I talk a lot of people out of it because they really think that it's the thing to do, but it's really not.
It is kind of trendy, isn't it? A lot of people feel like they need to get there. And I think they're getting there for an ego reason. They want the award. They want the trophy. It's not about helping people. And so I'll oftentimes now to the answer of the question, which is an awesome question. When I know someone's not the right fit, the first thing is you can't tell them that they shouldn't, obviously. I want them to choose to not. And so I'll ask them what their goal is. Why do you want to have a team? And if their answer isn't to help other people become better versions of themselves, and in so teaching others to become better, I'm going to become a better leader, which it's not going to be that as the answer, then they're probably not ready yet. But leverage is key. And a lot of people that think they want to build a team today, if you're an individual that hasn't started your team yet, the team doesn't need to be a Jeff Cohn team or an Eden Sunshine team with 800 people. A team can be an admin so that you're no longer dotting I's and crossing teeth. A team can be one buyer's agent just working all of your buyers that are under $500,000 so you can focus on the higher ones. The goal, in my opinion, is that each of us should always be scaling up, leveling up, and learning to become the best version of ourselves so we can make the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of energy. And we should ask ourselves every 12 months, look back and say, did I do the functions that made me the most money in the least amount of time with the least amount of energy?
You hit the nail on the head, and you're absolutely right. It is about that personal growth, which we talked about earlier. It's about, one of the questions I ask folks is, and you ask them why you want to do it. And I ask that same question. Then some of them that have been in the game for a while and are doing well, they will answer because I love to develop people and I want to help people become best versions of themselves, which is a fantastic answer. But the other question I ask people is this: what work do you really want to do every day?
Where do you want to spend your time?
How do you want to spend your time? And so many of them will say, I want to be in front of the consumer, not necessarily buyers. And you know that probably the most prolific agents out there, and at least the teams that I've worked with over the years, are listing agents. They are the guys that focus on listings. Those are the people they want to work with. They want to be the rainmaker. They want to be the marketer. They want to be out there forefront, but they don't want to be doing paperwork. They don't want to be doing transaction management. They don't necessarily want to be out showing properties. So the answer to the question is, what do you want to do? I don't necessarily want to be a leader. I don't want to necessarily have to be engaged in systems development and culture development and meeting with my team and mentoring all that. I just want to create an opportunity where I get to do what I love to do and I'm good at. And so maybe the answer is exactly what you just said. Get a great TC, admin support, get a great buyer's agent working with you, and then you can do what you want to do. And you're probably going to make a lot more money.
And every year, I think if they're wired the way we are, which most people are, you start to get bored of the mundane. You start to look for the next thing. And I think a lot of people struggle because they're not sure what that next thing looks like. Just speaking to our exact sentiment here, you come on as an admin in Omaha, Nebraska, you're going to earn anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 a year. So you look at how much are you earning per hour, probably around $15 to $20 an hour. If you're an agent working 40 hours a week, let's say you make $100,000 a year, that's $50 an hour. If you decide to not work buyers and just focus on listings and you're going to work that same amount of time, I bet you'll make $200,000 a year. Now you're at $100 an hour. But what I found as I built and scaled the team, and this is the Team Building Podcast, was that each agent inside of my organization on average would sell 29 units a year, would earn 75,000 net per year. And each agent netted me around $20,000. So now I had to ask myself, do I go on a listing presentation where I can make 20K today once every 11 years that they sell with me? Or do I go on a recruiting appointment where if that agent chooses to join my organization, I'm making $20,000 a year forever, as long as they stay in my world and my world is big enough to provide them value. And now I'm meeting with brokerages, looking at partnering with brokerages that have hundreds of agents that want to be fueled by our technology. And I needed that growth path for myself, but that's not the path for everyone. So I loved your point. Pick which seat on the bus you want to be on. Patrick Lencioni, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, speaks to that ideology. And it's important that we are willing to look at ourselves so that we know what seat we want to be in, but don't think the seat you choose has to be a permanent seat. Oftentimes for people, especially high Ds, you're going to constantly be looking for a new seat.
Yeah. And I think it's important to recognize that where you are today is certainly going to evolve as time progresses. So you might discover that that person that gets that 2-person team goes, what's the next level for me? What's the next thing? And they've grown as a person, or they recognize that, there's something else that they want to give back. We get a lot of our top executives opportunities to do the mentoring. That's why we got the mentoring program. It gives them that outlet to give back when they want that, without that commitment to, I have to be doing this on an ongoing basis. It's become my career. But I think you hit on something that's really, really important. It goes to the conversation about authenticity. And that is being very, very careful and not getting caught up in, this is what I think I'm supposed to do because what everybody's telling me I'm supposed to do, right? And years ago, when I first started my consulting business, it was back in 2000, I think one of my first clients was a gal that was an attorney. And she had just started her own practice, and she had come out of a big, one of the big giant law firms here in Phoenix. She loved working at the firm, and I was talking to her about, why did you do this? And what's your vision? And what do you want to get out of this? And after we talked for a little while, she says, I really love being in the big firm. I enjoyed it. I love the people. I love the camaraderie. I love the banter. I said, well, why did you start the business that you're in now? And she said, because everybody said it was kind of the next progression.
Very interesting.
And I have to tell you, it was the shortest consulting engagement that I'd ever had. We had
Go ask her your job.
I talked her out, and after our second conversation, I said, what are you going to do? And she says, I'm going back to the law firm.
That's awesome.
Because it connected with authentically what she didn't want to create that. She wanted to be a part of it. And so, I say to people, really get in touch with, and you said the same thing, get in touch with, why are you doing what you're doing? And it can evolve, but be authentic to where you are today. And if you feel compelled that, hey, I'm being challenged to do this because I want to explore this next level of leadership, but understand that in order to go there, you're going to have to let go of something, right?
Yep.
And when I say to somebody, in order to do this, you're going to have to let go of that lead. You're going to have to let go of that buyer that, you've done business with for years, and you're going to have to turn it over. You're going to have to let go of your time and say, I'm willing to invest, 4 hours a week per person in development, whether that's in systems development or training or mentoring or whatever it is. I'm going to have to let go of that time that was mine. So there is a price to pay, but if you feel truly and authentically compelled to move that direction, then you go for it. And you put the numbers to it too. If money is a relevant part of it, because most people that start teams, if they're doing it right, they're probably going to take a pay cut.
Got to take a step back to take a step forward. 100%. We teach that exact same thing. If someone wants to download, I give out a free download of our business plan, which is exactly what we did to grow. I believe we're the fastest growing real estate team in history, going from 70 to 700 sales in just 6 years. If anyone can beat that, send me an IM or an email, and we'll send you a $100 gift card to the restaurant of your choice. But one of the biggest things is giving away this business plan. A lot of agents have taken advantage of it. It's free. Go to jeffsbusinessplan.com. Also, on the heels of that, would love to invite anyone that got value out of this episode to give Eden a shout out on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review. We're working on getting over 1,000 reviews on the podcast on iTunes. And then also, I wanted to extend an invitation to anyone listening to attend one of our upcoming events. We have our big annual team building summit in physical person. We are doing it in May in Omaha, Nebraska, downtown. It's going to be an awesome 2-day event. All the details about the event are on our website, which is theteambuildingsummit.com, or just go to Elite Real Estate Systems and click on events. Eden, what's the best way for someone to get in touch with you?
EdenSunshine.com.
EdenSunshine.com. That's easy enough for people to remember. And I know, Eden, you would extend your consulting services to the right types of team leaders or individuals seeking to build teams, I'm assuming.
Owners. Yep, absolutely.
Business owners.
Yeah.
And obviously you guys heard from him today. We are aligned on everything we talked about. You've been an amazing guest. We absolutely would love to get you back on the show in the future. And we just really appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks for having me. This is great. Hey, you guys are doing amazing work. I would love to talk to you about an idea of the management list business model someday. So, because I'm sure you've got a lot of structure and a hierarchy. We're working on some here at Realty Executives about flattening that hierarchy, that model, and the flat organization chart. And
it's interesting as technology advances back to that independent model, you start eliminating all the middle level necessities of a franchise, of a region, of et cetera, even physical office space. EXP has proven that. And so I have a lot to say on that topic. And I think anything that exists, Grant Cardone wrote the 10X factor. The people living today over the next 20 years, there's no 10X, it's 100X, it's 1000X. Technology allows you to grow faster than ever before in history. If there's going to be more billionaires in the next 10 years than there have been ever. And that's because technology allows you to reach everywhere, every corner of the earth. Yeah. And it's a really unique experience and opportunity for those that choose to embrace the suck, embrace the tech, and take your business to the next level, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Eden. You've been an awesome guest today. I really appreciate you coming on.
Take care.